Many years ago, in the planet of the Saiyans, things would be different from how we know them. Bardock and Gene would be the kings of the planet Bardock, the name that would take the place of the planet Vegeta. The Saiyans would work very hard for Frieza, the conqueror of the universe, but things would get complicated. Goku would grow up as a Saiyan prince, with a lot of pride for his crown and for his race. He stood out for his prodigious power and for his great skills. Goku was considered the strongest warrior on the planet Bardock, and he was well paid by Frieza in special missions. Although one day, someone was born who could snatch the title of the strongest on the planet Bardock. Broly would be born with great qualities. His fighting power sometimes exceeded any kind of limit. Bardock and Gene would take care of the matter in person, while Prince Goku remained on an important mission. "It can't be that a Saiyan is so strong," said Bardock. "It is supposed that ours is who should be the strongest, not him," said Gene. "Who is his son?" "He is the son of Paragus, the chief colonel," said one of the scientists. "Damn, he just had to be Paragus," said Bardock in a bad mood. "He is a very difficult subject to deal with," said Gene. "Place this child in a ship and send him to a distant planet. Deny his existence," said Bardock. "What will we tell Paragus?" asked one of the scientists. "I think I was pretty clear," said Bardock seriously. In that way, to preserve Goku's status, Broly would be sent to the planet Bomba. Even so, despite the discretions, Paragus would not take long to find out the truth. Paragus would not take long to question the kings about what they had just done. "How dare you do something like that to my son?" said Paragus, furious. "They do not realize that it can be the hope for our planet." "The power of your son is dangerous. That is why he was banished," said Bardock. "You should be grateful that we do not take his life, because we are not like that," said Gene. "You are bastards. You are just jealous of the power of my son, who is superior to Goku's," said Paragus out of himself. "Have more respect for your words," said Bardock when rising from his throne, "or you will pay with your life." Paragus was about to attack Bardock, but he would notice the presence of the rest of the guards. The most important thing for him at that moment was to save his son. In that way, Paragus would escape there, take a ship by force, and escape after his son. "King Bardock, he wants us to look for him," said one of the Saiyans. "No need, leave him. He will never return," said Bardock. "That bastard beat him," said Gene. Paragus would reach the planet Bomba. As soon as he would land his ship, he would go in search of his son. But when he left a few steps, the ship would explode into thousands of pieces. Paragus had saved himself by very little. "I can't believe it. I had the ship programmed for that," said Paragus. "Bardock, Gene, I curse you. One day I will return for you and I will end your lives." Goku would return from his mission, and no one would tell him anything about what had happened to Broly. In that way, the years would go by while the Saiyans were still under the command of Frieza. Goku would improve his powers to a great extent, getting on top of Ginyu's special forces. Frieza would be attentive to this, since he was very worried that a Saiyan was so strong. "With that, Goku continues to increase his powers," said Frieza. "They say the bad tongues that he is drunk from a very powerful water," said Kikono. "He also says that he has been trained by some martial arts teachers in exchange for not destroying their planets," said Berry Blue. "It is stronger than Ginyu's special forces, and that is dangerous," said Frieza. "It may be that the special forces are a few fools, but their fidelity is absolute. On the other hand, the Saiyans are just partners. They would bite my hand as soon as they could." "Does he have something in mind?" would ask Berry Blue. "Yes, I could destroy them and blame an asteroid," said Frieza. "But he used that with 2 other planets. Wouldn't it be better to look for another excuse?" Kikono would say. "Do you doubt my intelligence?" Frieza would say seriously. "Great sir, I did not mean that." Kikono would say regretful. It doesn't matter. I'll see what to do. Now I want to know why Goku did not conquer that planet Earth. It is said that he almost did not fight against its inhabitants. Although they were very weak, it seems that he did not intend to depopulate the human race, said Berry Blue. I want to wait for a convincing excuse, Frieza would say seriously. Minutes later, we see Goku introduce himself to Frieza. He would introduce himself to him with reverence. Great Frieza, I bring news about Earth. Goku, my favorite Saiyan, would Frieza say with a sinister smile while floating slowly toward Goku in his mobile chair. A little bird told me that you did not conquer Earth. Can you give me a reason? Yes, I did it for his valor, Goku would say. I don't understand, Frieza would say seriously. Remember that a race paid him a lot of money for the conquest of that planet? Well, it turns out that they swindled us, Goku would say. Berry Blue and Kikono would be terrified by the words of Goku. What do you mean by that? Frieza would say furiously. The planet Earth has gold, lithium, silver, copper, and many precious metals to an unimaginable amount. That is why I did not conquer it, Goku would say. I told the Earthlings that I would let them live in exchange for parts of these riches. They will mine natural resources for us year after year, and all we have to do is let them live. How valuable is the planet? Frieza would say. It is the richest planet I have ever seen, Goku would say. It is worth 1,000 times more than what they paid us for it. 1,000 times more? Frieza would say, disconcerted. I think I'll have to visit that race that wanted to buy it. On the other hand, I would like to establish a base. I met an army called the Red Patrol. I defeated their leaders, but the soldiers were left alive, Goku would say. We can use them to exploit the resources and incorporate them as our soldiers. Go, Goku, you think like a conqueror, Frieza would say. I like the idea. Go ahead. Goku would leave, leaving everyone impressed by his business. Although Frieza had his doubts. Berry Blue, send a reconnaissance troop to Earth, Frieza would say, and try to be as discreet as possible. As you order, Grand Frieza, Berry Blue would say. I want to know how true is what Goku says, Frieza would say seriously. Goku would return to planet Bardock to enjoy his well-deserved vacation. Meanwhile, the planet Bardock enjoyed a well-deserved peace. Goku would talk to his parents on planet Earth and how he had avoided his sale. Are you sure those dragon spheres are real? Bardock would say. I saw them personally, Goku would say. A giant and all-powerful dragon came out and fulfilled the wish they asked for. That thing is great. We could have absolute power. So you lied to Frieza, Jean would say. Partly, Goku would say. The truth is that planet is worth a lot for its dragon spheres. As for its resources, I exaggerated it. But it doesn't matter. As long as we don't destroy the planet, the dragon spheres will be under our use. A wish for a year, Jean would say. I wonder how much it can fulfill. They can revive people, Goku would say. Lie. I swear, I saw how he revived someone, Goku would say. Goku would give his parents all the details about the Earth and the dragon spheres. It was an incredible place to invade and become stronger.
That's why he didn't want to share it with Frieza. On the other hand, on the planet Vampa, Paragus and Broly lived their lives as best they could. Because they were on a hostile planet and without technology, and added to the lack of communication for not having their ship, they would remain isolated from any civilization. Even so, they would not lose faith that one day they would be rescued. One night, the ship of the Galactic Patrol would appear. They would pass through the planet Vampa for some imperfections in the ship that needed to be reviewed. Jaco would start working on the ship until he was intercepted by Paragus. The desperate and exhausted Saiyan would claim the help of Jaco. A Saiyan? Jaco would say. Jaco would take out his weapon instantly. He knew that the Saiyans were dangerous for being Frieza's partners. Stop there. I'm not afraid to shoot, Jaco would say. Wait, we need your help, Paragus would say. My help? Jaco would say. "You are planet killers." Several more members of the Galactic Patrol would come out and point their weapons. Paragus would raise his hands, knowing that he had no chance. Although, he had someone, Broly. Paragus would shout. Broly would listen to his father from afar. That way, he would fly at high speed. So much so that they would retake the air, creating an expansive wave. Broly would stand in front of his father, covering him. "Damn, that Saiyan is big," Jaco would say. The soldiers of the Galactic Patrol would not hesitate to shoot, but all the projectiles would be resisted by Broly. The Titan Saiyan would not receive the slightest damage. "It can't be. It has to be a joke," Jaco would say, terrified. Broly would scream, causing tremors on the ground, but his father would manage to calm him down. "Broly, wait," Paragus would say. "We need them alive. They have a ship to escape." "Ship?" Broly would say, confused. Paragus would explain what had happened and ask for help. As Paragus was against Bardock and Jinny, he would swear loyalty to the Galactic Patrol. That way, they would become her soldiers. Jaco did not look very convinced, but he would end up accepting it. Then Broly and Paragus would be provided with food, medicine, and new clothes. Now they were in a much more comfortable place, where they would not have to fight to survive. While Paragus kept an eye on Jaco, he would tell him that beating Bardock, Jinny, and Goku would not be a problem if they had Broly. As the Saiyans were considered dangerous for the invasion of planets, they would accept his help in order to defeat him. Although, not everything would stay there. Frieza was on his ship receiving reports from the Earth. He would realize Goku's trap and his lie. The only valuable thing that the Earth had were the dragon spheres. With wishes once a year, Frieza would say. Our informants did not have much time, so I doubt that detail has been overlooked by Goku, Berry Blue would say. It is clear that that fool wanted to get rid of me, Frieza would say. Goku, you think you're better than me. What are you going to do? Berry Blue would say. What I had to do from the beginning, Frieza would say. Destroy the planet Bardock. Frieza and his army would go to the planet Bardock, while they would call everyone to make an important notice. When all the Saiyans were gathered, Bardock, Jinny, and Goku feared that this was some kind of trap. I don't like this at all, Goku would say. Me neither, Jinny would say. Goku, we have to be ready for the worst. We all know that Frieza is capable of anything. I understand, Goku would say. Frieza would leave his ship pointing up. He would create a great ball of ki straight to the planet. The Saiyans would realize the cruel trap. Frieza would want to eliminate them completely without caring about anything. What will happen now that Frieza wants to destroy the planet Bardock? Will Frieza achieve his goal? And even more important, what will Goku do to avoid it? We will know all that in the next part of this theory. Thanks for watching the first part of this theory of Goku the Prince Saiyan. Remember to leave your like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to see the next part of this theory, the video has to reach 70 likes and I will upload it as fast as I can. See you in the next video. Frieza's ball descended rapidly towards the planet Bardock, generating a generalized panic among the Saiyans. Bardock, Gene, and Goku, along with other strong warriors, were preparing to face the imminent destruction. Bardock, do you think we can stop that? Gene would ask with concern. I don't know, Gene, but let's try. All the Saiyans, prepare for a joint counterattack, Bardock would exclaim, trying to instill courage in his people. Goku was thoughtful about the situation. He knew that the Saiyans couldn't stop that attack. Each of them would launch their best attack to repel Frieza's ki ball, but it didn't seem to be enough. It was getting closer and closer to the planet, and it didn't even lose speed. Where's Goku? Gene would say. I don't know. I lost sight of him, Bardock would say. Suddenly, all the Saiyans would hear a mysterious scream.
It was Goku, who was raising his ki to the maximum. Everyone would be impressed by the great aura that surrounded Goku. "Son?" Gene, disconcerted, would say. "I'm going to use the technique they taught me on Earth," Goku would say. Goku would take his hands back, accumulating a small energy ball. "Calm, May," Goku would say. "Calm, May," Goku would say, while the energy ball increased with more intensity. "Ha!" Goku would launch his Kamehameha. At the time of hitting Frieza's ki ball, he would initially stop it, but then he would manage to return it to space. "What's going on?" Disconcerted, Frieza would say. Frieza's attack would be deflected. It would explode in space, shaking the ship. No one in Frieza's army could believe it. The evil emperor felt insulted. His pride was broken by how Goku had just opposed him. "Those damned Saiyans deserve to die for this," Frieza would say. Frieza would leave the ship. He would let himself fall directly to the planet Bardock. Upon arrival, the evil emperor would fall with great force, generating a great expansive wave. Even so, the cold demon looked like nothing after making his entrance. Goku knew that the time had come. It was time to face Frieza. "Son, what are you going to do?" Gene would say, noticing how Goku was preparing for combat. "Don't worry. On Earth, I learned a couple of things," Goku would say. "I'm going to finish this worm and free the Saiyans from his reign." Goku would go to Frieza. The evil emperor would whip his tail against the ground violently, generating tremors with his strength. "Goku, you've gotten stronger," Frieza would say. "Frieza, you wanted to kill us. You're a damn bastard." "Wow, the prince has gotten stronger," Frieza would say. "Damn swindler, you deceived me with Earth. You wanted it all for yourself." "And it will be mine, for my use," Goku would say. "I see. You must be looking forward to those dragon spheres," Frieza would say. "Hey, how do you know?" Goku would say, disconcerted. "Oh, you forget I'm the evil emperor," Frieza would say. "Nothing in the universe escapes me." "As you wish," Goku would say, as he put on guard. "Frieza, I'll beat you." Goku would throw himself with everything towards Frieza. Frieza would reach him with a punch that would turn his face to one side. After that, he would hit him over and over again. The evil emperor could not believe that a Saiyan could be so strong. "I don't understand. What did he do to Earth?" Frieza, worried, would think. Goku would throw Frieza far away. The evil emperor would fall to the ground and roll several meters. Even so, he would stand up. But not everything would stay there, because Frieza was ready to use his true potential. "You idiot! You only provoked the wrath of the great Frieza," Frieza would say. Frieza would start to raise his Iki. His body would shine with enormity, blinding Goku. After that, he would generate a great explosion of energy. Goku would fly far away when he witnessed such an explosion. The rest of the Saiyans watched everything from afar. They could not believe it. Not only did they see the Prince of the Saiyans, they would also know the transformation of Frieza. "It can't be. He's more terrifying than I thought," Gene would say. "I didn't know Frieza could transform that way," Bardock, a Pterodord, would say. "Now we know," Gene would say. "You damn cheater. You transformed," Goku would say. "Fear?" Frieza would say. "No, disgusting," Goku would say instantly. "Damn," Frieza would say between teeth. Frieza looked really furious. At that moment, Frieza and Goku would start to have a majestic fight, where each one used their best skills and movements. It was an incredible show. Goku, at that moment, would become a ray of hope for the Saiyan people. The fight would extend for several minutes, with each one giving their best. Meanwhile, in space, the Galactic Patrol, along with Paragus and Broly, they were observing the situation from their ship. Jocko, an unbeliever of the existence of such powerful Saiyans, couldn't stop admiring the magnitude of the conflict. "This gets interesting, huh?" Jocko would say, while studying the situation. Paragus, with a determined look, would approach Broly. "Son of mine, this is your moment. Fight for us, for your race," Paragus would say. "I know you have a formidable power." "I don't know if we'll make it in time," Broly would say. "If Frieza wins, he will destroy the planet Bardock before we get there." "Don't worry about that. Those two fools are fighting to the death, and they still have a lot left," Paragus would say. "Broly, remember that it was Bardock and Jean who banished us. They're the parents of Prince Goku. They deserve to be eradicated so that we can recover our planet." "I understand," Broly would say. The battle between Goku and Frieza was more and more intense. Each one gave their all. Although they were not really using all their powers to the maximum, they would raise them little by little to not spend all their energy at once. At one point, Goku and Frieza would hold hands and begin to fight each other. Both made a great effort to beat the other. "Bastard, I should have killed you with all your planet from the beginning," Frieza would say. "Shut up, I should have destroyed you as soon as I returned to Earth," Goku would say. Suddenly, Goku and Frieza would move away from each other. Both regained their breath. They hadn't taken a breath in a long time. "I can't believe it. Is our son really that strong?" Jean would say. "I didn't expect this transformation from Frieza," Bardock, a Pterodord, would say. "Now we know," Jean would say. "You damn cheater. You transformed," Goku would say. "Fear?" Frieza would say. "No, disgusting," Goku would say instantly. "Damn," Frieza would say between teeth. Radiant. Frieza and Goku would launch powerful ki attacks while the tension grew on the planet Bardock. The Saiyans observed the situation with fear of their fates. The ground trembled, the sky would fill with clouds, and the birds would fly away anticipating the hell that was brewing over them. On the other hand, Frieza's army was watching the situation, unable to believe that a Saiyan was capable of fighting Frieza face to face. At that moment, the Galactic Patrol would decide to strike. Knowing that Frieza was in the middle of combat, it was the perfect moment. "Very well. Paragus, Broly, while you go to the planet Bardock, we'll attack the rest of Frieza's army," Jocko would say. "We count on you." "Okay, count on it," Paragus would say. "Broly, just try to control yourself. You have enough power to finish them off." "So I have to eliminate both the prince and the kings? And Frieza?" Broly would say. "That's right," Paragus would say. "Frieza has enslaved us for a long time, while the kings were the ones who brought us to this fate filled with suffering." "Well, I'm ready," Broly would say. Broly and Paragus would take a ship and leave in a hurry towards the planet Bardock. Both Bardock and Jean would be bewildered by the presence of both. They would recognize Paragus instantly, and it would be easy for them to understand who Broly was. "Tell me this is a joke. We're done," Jean would say. Goku and Frieza would stop their fight for a moment when they noticed Broly approaching them. "Hey, can't you do it alone and you have to call your friends?" Goku would say. "Don't say nonsense. I don't even know who he is." Bardock and Jean would go to Paragus to ask for explanations. "Paragus, what are you doing here?" Bardock, furious, would say. "Wow, Your Majesty, I see you didn't expect us," Paragus would say.
"I'm sure he was waiting for us to lose our lives on that planet. Damn bastard," Jean would say when creating a ki ball. Jean would launch the attack towards Paragus, but this would be blocked by a fleeting movement. Both Jean and Bardock would be impressed. The Bamba planet and its hostile condition had strengthened Paragus. "Not so fast, my queen," Paragus would say. Broly would interrupt the fight. Neither Goku nor Frieza understood what was happening. Besides all that, Goku had no idea who Broly was. "Hey, you're a Saiyan, but I don't know you," Goku would say. "You look big, but I'm going to ask you to retire. It's dangerous for you." Broly would observe Goku with a seriousness that would leave him disconcerted. "Heavens, this guy doesn't seem to be very well off his head," Goku would say. "Hey, better not get involved in this," Frieza would say when throwing a ki beam. The attack would be dodged by a simple movement of Broly, by moving his face to one side subtly. "It has to be a joke," Frieza would say. Broly would scream by expelling his ki to the maximum. Goku and Frieza would say goodbye far away. "What the hell? It can't be. Today's the day that strong Saiyans appear," Frieza would say angry. "Hey, what do you want?" Goku would say. Broly would throw everything at Frieza and Goku. He would take both positions, touching his body. Goku and Frieza did not understand anything of what was happening, like the rest of the Saiyans. The situation was confusing and full of uncertainties. Broly would fight Goku and Frieza at the same time. Neither of them could make him fight for his huge power. Meanwhile, Bardock and Jean were facing Paragus. "None of this would have happened if they hadn't betrayed us. Now it's time to claim the crown," Paragus would say. "Claim the crown? What did you smoke on planet Vampa?" Bardock would say. Paragus would hit Bardock with a knee. Bardock would say goodbye far away. "Bardock," Jean would say terrified. "Don't get distracted," Paragus would say. Paragus would throw a ki ball at Jean. She would cover herself when crossing her arms, but the attack would be so powerful that she would still throw it far away. Paragus proved to be much stronger than the kings themselves. At that moment, the other Saiyans would come to support Bardock and Jean, but Paragus did not fear them. "Do you really want to face me?" Paragus would say. One of the Saiyans would measure his fighting power with his radar. He would notice that Paragus had 60,000 fighting power. "It can't be. His fighting power is more than 60,000, that Saiyan would say. "Damn, this is getting worse," Bardock would say, very worried. "What could happen now that Broly will enter the fight? Will Paragus kill Jean and Bardock? And also, what will happen to the fate of the planet Bardock? We will know all that in the next part of this theory. Thanks for watching the second part of this theory of Goku the Prince Saiyan. Remember to leave your like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to see the next part of this theory, the video has to reach 7,000 likes, and I will upload it as fast as I can.
Who were overwhelmed by the
See you in the next
force
video.
Of the legendary Saiyan. Broly's impacts resonated throughout planet Bardock, creating cracks in the ground and raising dust in the air. Goku, surprised by the strength of his opponent, tried to counter the Broly's attacks while a furious Frieza struggled to keep up with the fight. "Hey, explain this," Frieza would say. "I told you I don't know him," Goku would say. Broly would throw a huge K-ball at both of them. A huge explosion would occur on the ground, from which Frieza and Goku would escape. Nothing. Broly would casually arrive at Goku's side, hug him tightly, and begin squeezing him with his chest. Goku was squeezed hard. He screamed in pain, but didn't have enough strength to free himself. "I think it's time to get out of here," Frieza would say. Frieza would see his main ship was being attacked by the Patrol Galactic. "Come on, this has to be a joke," Frieza would say. Frieza would launch several Kia attacks towards the Galactic Patrol soldiers, but Broly would realize in time the intentions of the Emperor of Evil. At that moment, Broly would open his mouth without letting go of Goku. He would launch a large K-beam towards Frieza. Frieza would cross his arms, but he still wouldn't withstand the attack. Frieza, after a huge explosion, would fall to the ground. Even so, thanks to that distraction, Goku would headbutt Bran. That way he would manage to free himself. "Oh, you're really hard-headed," Goku would say. Broly, with no intention of letting go escape Frieza, would go after him. Goku would follow him. He knew that this beast was very dangerous, and necessarily needed Frieza's help because they had rivals in common. In another corner of the battlefield, Paraga was facing Bardock Gijin, who despite their efforts were being overwhelmed by the power of the renegade Saiyan. Gain, rising from the ground after Paraga's brutal attack, Gain charged at him with determination. "I will not allow you to destroy our people," Gain shouted, launching himself at Paragus with a flurry of blows. However, Paragus nimbly dodged his attacks and counterattacked with overwhelming force. Gain fought valiantly, was at a disadvantage due to the overwhelming difference in power. Bardock, trying to help his wife, would confront Paragus in a rage. "You bastard, we should have killed them instead of letting them live," Bardock would say. Bardo and Jine were using all their efforts to attack Paragus, but there was nothing they could do. Paragus neither, he didn't even take it seriously. He enjoyed feeling superior to them. Besides, he had other plans. "I can't believe he got so strong on that planet," Ginnick would say. Frieza and Goku, hopelessly, continued attacking Broly with everything they had. They still couldn't do the slightest damage. The few attacks that connected weren't enough to do anything relevant. "Freer, if we don't do something, this guy will kill us," Goku would say. "Don't talk to me like we're friends," Frieza would say. "Consider it a momentary bond," Goku would say. Meanwhile, the Galactic Patrol continued its attack on Frieza's forces in space. Jocko led the offensive, trying to weaken the defenses of the Tyrant Army to make it easier for Broly and Paragus to reach the planet. However, they faced fierce resistance from Frieza's soldiers. In the heat of battle, Broly would increase his power to even more incredible levels. His aura would intensify and his fury seemed to know no bounds. Goku and Frieza, seeing Broly's increasing power, realized that if they didn't join forces, they wouldn't stand a chance of stopping him. "Frieza, will you join me in taking on this guy?" Goku would ask. "Okay, but only temporarily. We'll get back to it later. Our fight." Frieza would accept, aware of the threat posed by Broly. Both would raise their K to the maximum and launch themselves at Broly, unleashing a combination of coordinated attacks. However, Broly defended himself with impressive speed and stamina. The fight would be epic, with powerful explosions of energy lighting up the sky and shaking the planet. Still, Broly had a lot to give, and even with Goku and Frieza fighting in a coordinated manner, it wasn't enough. On the other side of the battlefield, the situation was getting worse for Bardo Gigan. Paragus, taking advantage of his superiority, would launch a devastating attack that would leave them seriously injured on the ground. It seemed that victory was about to fall into Paragus's hands. "With your deaths I declare myself the new king of planet Bardock," Paragus would say. Paragus would charge a large K-ball. He would throw it towards both of them, but one of the soldiers, a Saiyan, would stand in the middle, bearing the brunt of their attack. At that moment, the Saiyan would inevitably die. "Damn busybody," Paragus would say. Several Saiyans would arrive, surrounding Paragus. To him, they were just a waste of time. "Enough," Paragus would shout, performing a ki blast that would throw everyone away. The soldiers would be knocked out by the force of the attack. When they looked for Pardo Gigan, they wouldn't see them. Nappa had taken advantage of the situation. "Damn, they escaped," Paragus would say. Broly had just delivered the final blow to Goku. He would fall to the ground, completely defeated. Frieza was already unconscious. "Broly!" Paragus would shout. Broly would go to his father without hesitation. "We have to find the kings. They escaped," Paragus would say. "Let me kill those two," Broly would say. "I don't understand why it took you so long," Paragus would say. Paragus would see Goku and Frieza in the distance. He would launch a charged ki attack at them, taking advantage of the fact that both were unconscious. A huge explosion would ensue, and then father and son would set off in search of the kings. Minutes later, we see Bardo Gigan injured. They were hiding in a cave. "Nappa, you saved us," Gine would say. "It's nothing, it's the least I can do for the kings," Nappa would say. "You have to go, there's nothing you can do," Gine would say. "That's right, it would be better to hand over the kingdom," Bardock would say. Bardock would give his crown to Nappa. "What is your majesty doing?" Nappa would say. "I'm not going to risk the safety of my people. Go give this to Paragus. Tell him he won, but that he didn't. Kill the Saiyans," Bardock would say. "They can't be serious, they can't give up the kingdom like that," Nappa would say. "This happened because of us," Gine would say. "We sent Broly Paras to the planet Pamba because of that guy's power. They want us. Such is the crown. It's better this way." Nappa looked really turned off, but he had no choice but to obey the order. That way he would leave and go straight to find Paragus and Broly. He would easily find them in a matter of minutes. "Nappa, what do you want?" Paragus would say upon recognizing the Saiyan. Broly looked defensive in Nappa's presence. "I'm sorry, I have this is for you," Nappa would say. Nappa would show the crown and Paragus would be speechless. "That's the crown," Paragus would say. "The kings have surrendered and surrender their crown in exchange for no more lives being lost." Napal would say, bowing. Paragus would arrogantly take the crown and without hesitation walk away. Would place it. "Broly, let's go to the castle," Paragos would say. "What do we do with him?" Broly would say. "I'm not interested," Paragos would say. Broly, with a simple K attack, would completely disappear Nappa. After that, Paragus and Broly would go to the king's castle, where they would take the throne by force. The Saiyans would not have no choice but to surrender and respect the new king. That way, Paraga would be the king of planet Bardock, while Broly would be the new prince of the Saiyajin. On the other hand, Frieza's forces would suffer heavy losses. The battle against the Galactic Patrol had resulted in heavy losses on both sides. Parts. Somewhere in space we see a small ship from Frieza's army. Their Kikono and Berry Blue were escaping. With them were Goku and Frieza. Both were on regeneration stretchers while they were healing. "I can't believe you decided to bring Goku," I would say Kikono. "The Great Frieza is going to kill us." The Great Frieza was fighting alongside Goku. "Believe me, after this they'll need all the help available," Very Blue would say. Suddenly, Frieza would start moving his eyes. He was trying to wake up. The ship would start shaking from his unstable ki. "It can't be. He must have no idea we're on a ship." "Expedition," Kikono would say. "I'll take it," Berry Blue would say. Berry Blue would walk up to Frieza, cup his hand over the crystal, and speak to him telepathically. "Cran Frieza, can you hear me?" Very Blue would say inside his mind. "What's going on?" Frieza would reply in his own mind. He's currently being healed of his injuries. He was on the verge of death. "Please relax, we are on an expedition ship," Very Blue would say. Frieza would calm down as the minutes passed, and he would open his eyes. He would realize where he was. It can't be. What happened? Frieza would ask himself, bewildered. Little. Frieza would gradually start to heal. Being a cold demon, he would heal faster than Goku. Very Blue would go for him to fill him in on everything. She would show him the stretcher where Goku was being treated. "Damn," Frieza would say furiously. Frieza would create a K-ball and point at Goku. "Master Frieza, please," Very Blue would say to the stand in front of Goku. Frieza would glare at her. "Our troops were destroyed by the Galactic Patrol. We're almost out of people. Planet Bardo is in the hands of Paragus and Broly. We need him," Very Blue would say. Frieza would grunt under his breath. He would finally cancel his ki blast. "As whatever," Frieza would say. "Just make sure he doesn't damage the ship." Kikono and Berry Blue would give him the details of all the damage. Some soldiers had escaped, but the main ship had been destroyed. Now the Galactic Patrol was allied with the Saiyans. "I can't believe it. Those idiots from the Galactic Patrol, I'm going to get my pay," Frieza would say. Goku would wake up suddenly, not understanding where he was. "Oh, what's going on?" Goku would say, bewildered. Goku would see Frieza in front of him. He was about to attack him, but then he would reason out where he was. "Oh, I see you've calmed down," Frieza would say with a sinister smile. "Damn, what happened?" Goku would say. "Berry Blue, give him your explanations," Frieza would say. "As you command," Very Blue would say. Very Blue would tell Goku what had happened. She would tell him everything about how Paragus was the new king of planet Bardock and the alliance between the Saiyans and the Galactic Patrol. "No. It could be those bastards," Goku would say furiously. "Can you be mad at me or work for me?" Frieza would say. "You bastard, you were going to kill us all," Goku would say. "I know, and I think it was a mistake." "I need you now," Frieza would say. "How do I know I can trust you?" Goku would say. "Do you know which is the most important thing for a frost demon?" Frieza would say. Frieza would create a ball of ki threatening the safety of the ship. We cold demons can survive in space without needing to breathe and without the lack of gravity harming us. So if you're alive, it's because of my decision, Frieza would say, and would cancel the K-ball. Are you going to trust in me or not? Do you really think I'm going to trust you? Goku would ask seriously. What could happen now that Goku and Frieza have escaped? Will Frieza and Goku team up against Broly? And even more importantly, what will become of the fate of planet Bardock? We'll find out all that in the next part of this theory. Thanks for watching. Third part of this theory about Goku, the Saiyan Prince. Remember to leave your like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to see the next part of this theory, the video has to reach 70 likes, and I'll upload it as quickly as I can. See you in the next video. As Frieza's army ship advanced through space, Goku and Frieza found themselves in an awkward situation. Both warriors knew that for the moment it was more convenient to join forces to face the common threat posed by Broly and Parody. Goku, still incredulous by the alliance temporary, stared at Frieza as the latter reveled in his momentary position of superiority. I told you this is only temporary. As soon as we resolve this issue with Broly, we'll return to our confrontation. Goku would say, reminding Frieza that he didn't fully trust him. I know, Prince Goku, but it's also true that if we don't work together, we'll both lose much more than our rivalry. Frieza would respond with a malicious smile. Now let's focus on getting to planet Bardock and seeing what we can do against those out-of-control Saiyans. Do you realize that if we repeat the fight, will we have the same result? Goku would say. Damn, Frieza would say through gritted teeth, knowing that Goku was right. Repeating the fight without a plan made no sense at all. Broly Paragus' power was unprecedented. On planet Bardock, Broly and Paragus were consolidating their control over Saiyan society. The throne was occupied by Paragus, who enjoyed his new title of king, while Broly walked confidently among the Saiyans, being acclaimed as the prince of the race. Now, Broly was happy to be able to enjoy the pleasures of a planet where they had all the resources available, and he shouldn't be thinking about the day-to-day for his survival. The inhabitants of the planet, although surrendered to Broly's overwhelming power, looked with suspicion at their new leaders. The abrupt change in government had not been easily accepted by all, and some Saiyans began to murmur about the possibility of resistance. Paragus, aware of the need to consolidate his power, would call an assembly to address the Saiyan population. Saiyan, listen carefully. The era of Bardo Gijin has come to an end. I, Paragus, will be your new king, and my son Broly will be your prince. I will not tolerate no resistance. Whoever does not challenge my authority will suffer the consequences, Paragus would say in a firm voice, looking at the crowd with authority. The terrified Saiyans had no choice but to accept it. Broly had enormous power, and even if that were not the case, Paragus was already at the level of one of the members of the forces. Specials winked. They couldn't easily stop him either. Meanwhile, on Frieza's army ship, Goku and Frieza discussed strategies to confront Broly and Paragus. Although their alliance was fragile, they both recognized the need to work together to avoid disaster. We have to plan carefully our approach. Broly is incredibly powerful and Paragus is no slouch, though he's the least of our problems. Either way, we can't afford to underestimate them. Goku would point out, trying to establish a coherent strategy. I can call in the Special Forces wink. They'll take care of him. The problem is Broly, Frieza would say. Frieza would clench his fist tightly. Damn, we're out of power. Frieza would say angrily. We have to get stronger. As much as it pains me to help you, if we don't get stronger, there's no way to beat him. That guy is pure power and muscles. Goku would say. Frieza, despite his contempt for Goku, nodded seriously. You're right, but we also need information about his weaknesses. How can we face Broly if we don't know how to stop him? Frieza would say. Very Blue, who was listening to the conversation, would intervene. I have access to the ship's files. I can provide information on Paragus and Broly. Very Blue would say. Goku and Frieza would watch Very Blue, hoping to gain valuable information that could tip the scales in their favor. Meanwhile, on planet Bardock, Bardock and Jin were recovering from their injuries. They would meet with a small group of Saiyajin who shared their discontent with the new regime. They were sheltering in a village far from King Paragus' controls. Bardock, we can't allow Paragus and Broly to destroy everything we've built. We must resist, one of the rebel Saiyans would say. Sorry, there's nothing we can do, Bardock would say. Bardock is right, this was our fault. Dine would say. We sent Broly to another planet to protect them from him, but it turned out worse. It's not their fault. Broly is a monster, that's what they should have done. Another of the Saiyans would say. On the ship of Frieza's army, Goku, Frieza and Very Blue would carefully review the information on Paragus and Broly. They would discover that Broly had a limit on his energy due to his uncontrolled nature. On the other hand, Paragus relied heavily on his cunning and strategy. That means Broly's power lies in his overexertion, Frieza would say. That sounds interesting. I understand. We just have to attack him massively. Broly will tire, Goku would say. He's the typical being who can't stand up to long fights. The problem is that we don't have enough forces anymore, Very Blue would say. If we had the troops we had before, they would at least exhaust him. With the information in hand, Goku and Frieza would prepare to return to planet Bardock and face the rogue Saiyans, although first they would have to undergo training to be more ready. For several weeks, Goku and Frieza would immerse themselves in intense training. Despite their mutual distrust, they would recognize that the threat of Broly and Paragus required them to be at the peak of their physical form and combat ability. They would train together, challenging each other and pushing themselves beyond their limits. While Goku focused on perfecting his K mastery, Frieza explored new ways to increase his power and better control their ultimate form. Despite their rivalry, both warriors would realize that only by working together could they stand a chance against the looming threat of Brawler and Pragos. Meanwhile, on planet Bardock, Bardock and Guena and the group of rebel Hakaishins, they were working in the shadows, gathering information and waiting for the right moment to escape the planet. Paragus and Broly hadn't heard from them. Bardo Gijan must have been constantly hiding due to the constant tracking expeditions. In a clandestine meeting, Bardo would share his plan with the rebel Saiyans. They planned to infiltrate the Saiyan government structure and steal some ships during the night. They knew that confronting the leaders directly could be suicidal, so all they had left was to find a planet to escape to and start from scratch. As for Goku, they thought he was dead, since that was what everyone understood. If only Goku were with Vegeta, surely he could train and stop them, Gain would say. It pains me to think about what happened to Goku, but we have no choice but to leave that in the past, Bardock would say. The only positive thing about all this is that Frieza was also eliminated. Still, I'll never get over this, Gwynner would say. No longer being a queen is what hurts me the least. The pain of losing a child is like nothing else. Bardo Kikin and the other rebels would prepare to carry out the coup. They would infiltrate the central city of the Saiyan people. On the other hand, Frieza and Goku were on their way to the planet Bardock. Both of them had gotten a lot out of their training. Tell me, are you okay with being my right-hand man? Frieza would say. What are you talking about? Goku would say. Come on, after all this time together, can I afford to trust you? Frieza would say. Goku would look at Frieza seriously for a moment, and then look straight ahead. He would ignore the proposal completely without giving an answer. I'll take it you're going to think about it. Frieza would say. Master Frieza, we're almost there. Very Blue would say. Frieza's ship would arrive at planet Bardock. They would both fly straight for the castle. Meanwhile, the stealth rebels would finish off with some Saiyan soldiers. That way they would be able to enter the warehouses where the ships were guarded. Okay, we're close, Gain would say. Before they achieved their objective, they would feel the ground shake. What's happening? Bardock would say. It sounds like earthquakes. Wait a minute. Suddenly the walls would be destroyed. Broly them had knocked down upon colliding with them. Broly would say Bardock cataractously. Behind Broly you would see King Paragus. The only ships on the planet are here. Do you think we didn't take this into account? They wanted to escape, Pragos would say. Damn bastard. We already gave you the kingdom. Leave us alone, Gain would say. You don't understand. If you don't die, some people will be loyal to him, as are these rebels. Pargus would say. No matter what, to have a legitimate crown you have to kill the previous kings. All the Saiyans would be on guard, ready to fight, even if they knew they had no chance. Suddenly, Broly would unleash his ki, creating a great air current that would throw several Saiyans far away. Bardock Giant remained standing, although with difficulty. I think we have to accept our fate, Gain would say. But we will do it fighting like Saiyans with honor, Bardock would say. Bardock and Gain would scream, raising their K to the maximum. Broly, without hesitation, would launch himself with everything towards them. But before he could get there, Goku and Frieza would arrive with a kick to his face that would throw him far away. What would Pargus say, bewildered? Mom, Dad, are you okay? Goku would say. What's going on? Bardock would say. Son, we thought you were dead. Gain would say. I'm alive too, Frieza would say. You shut your mouth, Gain would say. Mom, I trained with Frieza. We have a temporary alliance, Goku would say. It must be a joke, Bardock would say. And a very good one, Frieza would say while laughing. Paragus still couldn't believe it. It can't be. I killed them with my own hands, Paragus would say. It seems that someone is not able to check if their enemy is breathing, Frieza would say. Broly would return. He would walk slowly towards Goku and Frieza looked calm, although he was waiting for the moment to use his brute force. Broly, don't hold back. The ground is covered in the blood of these two bastards, Paragus would say. Broly would unleash his Kia to the fullest. Bardo Gijin would take their distance. Frieza, Goku would say. Goku would say Freezer. Both would expel all their ki. Goku would transform into Super Saiyan, while Freezer in his golden form. What's going on? Paragus would say bewildered. Broly couldn't believe it. Even so, the Saiyan would launch himself with everything towards Goku and Freezer, but after attacking them he couldn't land a single hit. Goku would at one point connect a strong kick to Broly's ribs, while Frieza hit his chest with his tail, generating a superficial cut. Broly would fall to his knees really hurt. The power of both was extraordinary. The golden energy overflowed the bodies of both warriors. It's over, Goku would say. You have no chance against us. It can't be. Broly. Get up and here, Paragus would say until he would receive a K laser from Frieza. Frieza would say Goku terrified. The attack had hit his heart. Snapper would fall dead instantly. Broly would watch him on camera. Slowly as he fell. The king has fallen, Frieza would say. Frieza, you're an idiot. What are you talking about? This is what we came for, Frieza would say. The ground would begin to shake. Broly was furious at his father's death. Suddenly, he would explode his ki to the maximum, surprising both warriors. Broly would manage to transform into a Super Saiyan. This has to be a joke, Frieza would say, terrified. That's why I told you we shouldn't kill Paragus. We Saiyans get stronger when we get really angry, Goku would finish saying. What could happen now that Goku and Frieza have achieved new transformations? How strong will he be? Broly in Super Saiyan? And will Goku and Frieza be able to defeat Broly too? We'll find out all that in the next part of this theory. Thanks for watching the fourth part of this theory about Goku, the Saiyan Prince. Remember to leave your like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to see the next part of this theory, the video has to get 70 likes, and I'll upload it as quickly as I can. See you next time.
I will now leave an excerpt from our latest full story video so you can watch it in full. The link is in the description. A few years after the Power Tournament, Goku and Vegeta trained hard on Earth. They were fighting in the middle of the ocean, near an island where Bulma spent her holidays. The idea of the Bulma Island was for both Saiyans to have a place to fight at ease, without harming anyone or destroying cities. Even so, they had become so strong that things were no longer so easy. Wow, those two are going to cause a storm at any moment, Bulma would say. "Take this," Vegeta would say when throwing a ki beam at Goku. "Take this," Goku would say when countering Vegeta's attack with another ki beam. Both powers would collide with each other and create a great explosion. The water under them would begin to form great tides, so a tsunami would go straight to the island. "It can't be," Bulma would say, terrified to see the gigantic wave that was coming at her. Piccolo would arrive to save Bulma. He would stand in front of her, and by signaling the wave, he would manage to split it in two. The water would come out to the sides without even a drop of water wetting Bulma. "Thank you, Piccolo. You saved me," Bulma would say. "Those two are going to destroy the planet one of these days," Bulma would say. Piccolo would approach a considerable distance from both Saiyans. "Hey, you two fools!" Piccolo would scream. His scream would be heard with echo. "Piccolo, don't interrupt! Don't you see we're training?" Goku would say. "It's true, you're just getting in the way," Vegeta would say. "Get in the way?" Furious Piccolo would say. "A pair of pimples! They were about to kill Bulma with a tsunami!" Piccolo would say when signaling the island. Goku and Vegeta would see Bulma furious and much of the island destroyed by the tsunami. "Damn, we went too far," terrified Vegeta would say. "I think we have more strength than we think," Goku would laugh. "It's not funny. They will have to control their powers for the good of others," Piccolo would say. Minutes later, our friends would be having a snack. Bulma was still upset with both. "I can't believe it. I bought this island so that you two don't destroy anything and almost kill me," Bulma would say. "If Piccolo hadn't been here, he would have died because of you two." "Poor me. Come on, Bulma, don't exaggerate so much," Goku would say. "Bulma is right. They have become so strong that they do not control their powers," Piccolo would say. "We have to get stronger. Frieza, with just training a little, becomes very powerful," Goku would say. "Didn't you think about training in the Room of Time?" Piccolo would ask. "It's very boring. Besides, it's been a year without you," Goku would say. "Well, it would be peace of mind for us," Piccolo would say. "Besides, they can train a year in, spend a few days, and train again." "Dad, Mr. Piccolo is right," Gohan would say. "Every time they get stronger, they would have to look for an alternative. They are not even transformed." "Well, thinking about it, maybe you're right," Goku would say. "What are you talking about, Kakaroto?" Vegeta would ask. "Maybe it will be just training in the Room of Time. It's for everyone's good," Goku would say. "One day we will be able to go from energy and even destroy the Earth. And what would happen if Frieza decides to attack the Earth and we are inside?" Vegeta would ask. "It is very dangerous if we are inside one day." "They would only have to endure. If Frieza attacked, we wouldn't even get into the Room of Time. They would still have 24 hours to make time," Goku would say. "I don't know. I don't think it's a good idea," Vegeta would say. "Come on, remember that Frieza is a prodigy who, by training just a little, becomes very strong," Goku would say. "The Room of Time is the only effective way to counteract that advantage. Vegeta, understand him." "It's for everyone's good," Bulma would say. "Whatever. Anything to stop them from crying," Vegeta would say. Meanwhile, Frieza was on his planet. He had received information from there. "Great, Frieza," Berry Blue would call. "Our men have very valuable information from Earth. It is better that it is important," Frieza would say. "Apparently, Goku and Vegeta intend to train in a Room of Time," Berry Blue would say. "They have spoken that they are preparing in case you attack." "Thanks for the information. While it comforts me that those damn Saiyans are afraid of me, it is useless for me to know," Frieza would say. "On the contrary, they will be stronger. I tell you because I have an idea in mind," Berry Blue would say. Frieza smiled. He always trusted the plans of his right hand. I hope it's a good idea, Frieza would say with an evil smile. Do you know the ages of Mr. Vegeta and Mr. Goku? Berry Blue would ask. I have an idea. Vegeta was a 5-year-old boy when he destroyed the planet Vegeta, and Goku was just a baby when he escaped. So, the age of Goku is equal to the years that the planet Vegeta has since its destruction, Frieza would explain. Where do you want to get with that? As we know, they have used a room of time where a day out is a year in. Berry Blue would say. We know that both have used that room several times, so at least we would have to add 6 years of age to each. Maybe more, then, Frieza would ask. According to our records, the Saiyans have a life expectancy of between 140 to 160 years, Berry Blue would say. What would happen if those two entered the room of time and stayed locked together? Wow, you're very smart, Frieza would say. If they only spent 100 years inside, they would surely die of old age, no matter how strong they become. And even better, their souls would stay there forever, without anyone being able to revive them. We have small cameras in the shape of insects monitoring the Earth. We will know exactly when they will enter the room of time, Berry Blue would say. As soon as they enter, they will spend a whole day before they leave. I understand. That means we have 24 hours to annihilate the rest of the warriors and close that room, Frieza would say. Berry Blue, you have earned an increase with this brilliant idea. Hours later on Earth, Goku and Vegeta were about to enter the room of time. Dende and Piccolo would be there. I hope they don't destroy anything else on Earth with this, Piccolo would say. I wish you the best and that you become very strong, Dende would say. The room of time has infinite food, so you won't have to worry about anything other than training. Thank you, Dende. You are very attentive, Goku would say. I can't believe I have to go in with you, Vegeta would say. Annoying! Vegeta, you know we have to go in together, Goku would say. We get stronger by competing with each other. Besides, it wouldn't be fair for one to go in and be stronger than the other outside. Yes, I understand. You talk too much, Vegeta would say. Let's go in once and for all. Gohan and I will be attentive. Everything will be fine, Piccolo would say. Good luck, Dende would say. I don't like this idea, Vegeta would say. Come on, Vegeta, what could go wrong? Goku would say. Goku and Vegeta would finally enter the room of time. Wow, I almost forgot how it felt to be in here, Goku would say. Vegeta would inspect the interior. He would find a closet with dozens of uniforms for both. They even took the trouble to leave us several pieces of uniforms, Vegeta would say. They have been more attentive than I expected. Well, it's time to train, Goku would say. Goku and Vegeta would find weight training dumbbells to be able to fight with more difficulty. Without wasting time, both would go out to the patio of the room of time and begin to fight. Goku and Vegeta fought in their basic form. They gave everything to improve and become stronger. Do you think you can reach my level? Goku would ask, trying to provoke Vegeta.
Insect, what the hell are you saying? If we are at the same level, Hollow Head, Vegeta would answer furiously. You don't take it so badly either, it's just, Goku said until he received a blow to his face. Goku would be fired several meters away by the force of the blow. Vegeta, damn cheater, that's not done, Goku would say, annoying. Don't trust yourself, Vegeta would say seriously. If I were Frieza, you would be dead. With what do you want it? Goku would say when transforming into Super Saiyan Blue. Goku would throw everything at Vegeta, but this one would also transform into Super Saiyan Blue. Both would begin to exchange blows with everything. Meanwhile, Frieza's ship was close to Earth.
As soon as they received the news that Goku and Vegeta had entered the Room of Time, Frieza and his army would go at full speed. The rest of our friends would soon feel the presence of Frieza. It can't be. It's like I knew. My father and Vegeta weren't there, Gohan would say